Thank you so much, Amita, as well as Ashish, for joining us. Also, let me introduce our panelists who are with us as far as the panel discussion on building energy security for an Atmanirbhar Bharat is concerned. We have with us Ashish Khanna, who's the Director General of the International Solar Alliance, as well as Sushant Kumar Dey, who's the Executive Director of Projects of IREDA, the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. And Ashish, there's a huge swath of areas that we're talking about. When we're talking about building energy security for an Atmanirbhar Bharat, from clean energy to newer technologies emerging, many challenges, battery storage capacity, so on and so forth. What, according to you, is the roadmap for the next 5 years? We've come a long way, but what needs to be done further to ensure that we're able to achieve that Atmanirbharta in energy security?
Thank you so much for having me, first of all. I will start off by saying that if some of you do not know what International Solar Alliance is, it was envisaged almost 10 years back by Honorable Prime Minister as an aggregator of all countries, especially from Global South, who want to come together on a shared journey of solar. And at that time, when a target of 1,000 gigawatt or $1 trillion was done, there was a question, it sounds quite implausible. Today in 2026, as we sit, 600 gigawatts is getting added every year. More than 2,000 gigawatts are already commissioned just in developing countries. That just first of all tells you that solar is right now the mainstay of more and more developing countries. One final fact, 80% of all power plants done last year globally were renewables, and 80% of that was solar. That just tells you the predominance. Now, your question in terms of what the next 5 years look like, the next 5 years will not only be about the targets of how much capacity on solar has been added, but it will be a lot about quality. It will be a lot about the digitization and the flexibility in the system. What do I mean by that? For example, I believe India will be doing a lot more of decentralized renewable energy. What does that mean? We all know about PM Surya Ghar. Almost 40 lakh people have solar rooftop. Target is 1 crore. My assumption is at least double of that will happen over the next 5 years, because solar by nature is very empowering and inclusive, where everybody can have that. We have 3 million solar pumps done. I believe through PM Kusum, this is going to be a game changer. At least double or triple of that is going to happen. Now, when you have so much of decentralized renewable energy, the distribution company does not know how to manage my grid, because millions like you and me may become prosumer of both consuming and selling electricity. The power systems were designed for one-time flow. Somebody generates, transmits, distributes, consumes. But now it's a more vibrant system. So the system will by nature need to become very intelligent in understanding who's producing, who's generating, how the grid should be managed. This will be one of the key imperatives in the states to absorb a lot more energy, but also empowering a lot more people. Finally, the world is also going towards a lot of flexibility in how the grids will be managed, which are manufactured more and more locally. So the next 5 years will also see Atmanirbharta, both in terms of manufacturing, but also in terms of managing the grids with as little dependence on outside, both on the software part as well as the minerals part.
Mr. Dey, I want you to come in on this, because this is very important. Earlier we were looking at a situation, and of course the West Asia, what has happened has shown us the risks of being too dependent on importing energy from outside. How strong are we in terms of the trajectory that we are currently on, in terms of achieving this goal of actually being a net exporter of energy, or at least the systems by which one can manufacture all of these various sources of energy?
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for inviting me in this conclave. If I say that IREDA's journey, which started about almost 39 years back, IREDA was started as a niche financial institution to provide funding for renewable energy project, because the lenders were resistant. There was a lot of resistance from the lenders to fund these kind of projects. So our journey started from that point of time, and we started as a lender specialist lender, then financier, then the ecosystem developer in the financial market. So to answer your question that how this energy storage going to be developed in future and how we can export if we require this energy to be exported. The main important point here is that whatever energy we are generating, there is a lot of curtailment, particularly the solar energy. So to cater the need of India first, we should have a storage system in place, and then it comes to the exporting or importing of any energy. So in India, the demand is so much that we need not to think about export at this moment, but we have to consume ourselves whatever we are generating. So there are a lot of curtailments, and to cater this, the best energy system which we are going to develop, and the policy already is in place. So IREDA is financing those storage system in a big way, and though there are some policy issues, but those are being addressed by government time to time, and already the systems are in place, and over the period of 1 year or so, you will find that this curtailment will not be there, and that will be a answer to the energy storage which we require at this moment. But of course, as a long-term measure, we require PSP to develop as a storage system which will cater the need of long-term requirement of energy storage system.
Right. Ashish would like to come in on that, because when we talk about, the decentralized sort of model, one obvious thing would be you need battery capacity to have that storage. And one of the risks with that is that then we'll go from being dependent on West Asia to being dependent on China, is what a lot of people have observed, because they have complete dominance when it comes to battery and manufacturing technologies. So what needs to be done? Is it huge amount of private investment? What is the roadmap, policy initiatives, perhaps encouragements, incentives on part of the government to try and ensure that we also have our domestic manufacturing capacity as far as such storage facilities are concerned, which are enhanced for the future?
Yes, this is, I think, one of the most important questions, that the duck curve that stands today in terms of a huge surplus in the day and deficit in the evening requires a comprehensive storage framework. 3 or 4 elements. First element, our markets and regulatory frameworks must evolve from having today markets that just pay for the energy services to a range of services that potentially a battery storage provides. It includes frequency, it includes ancillary, some reactive power, voltage stability. In most countries, they have gone through advanced economies, gone through an evolved market structures in which these services are priced too. I think there's a discussion happening in India that needs to be accelerated. Second, storage is not only needed at generation end, where all the PPAs also have storage. It will increasingly be needed at distribution, like in Delhi we have Kilokri and Maharashtra is doing it. And then behind the meter, where people who are putting solar rooftop may actually put batteries as well. So this is a framework by which each element of storage will need to be promoted. And the third and final element is you need to invest in new technologies on which today you're not able to compete with China. But if you invest in those storage technologies today, in 5-10 years from now, when they become commercially viable, you have an alternate supply chains by which you can control.
What are these technologies? Can you describe that for us?
So, for example, sodium ion. I think there are different ways by which battery storage can be done. India is already doing pump storage hydro, which I think is great, 100 gigawatts. And then a lot of technologies are much more at experimental stage in which startups need to invest in making them commercially viable.
Right. How do you look at the role, for instance, Mr. Day, of artificial intelligence and future technologies, for speaking about battery technology specifically, but the future technologies, in fact, accelerating India's growth, and how we can quickly adopt that to build at scale? Because many are looking at this not just as, the provision of clean energy, saving of cost, saving of the environment, but also as a huge generator of jobs and employment in the future as well.
Particularly the artificial intelligence, if we talk about, it can be used as a tool to forecast the energy which we are going to generate in future. Like solar and wind power, there is always doubt that whether tomorrow or day after tomorrow what kind of generation we can achieve from solar or wind. So probably the AI can be used as a tool which can predict the generation ahead of, let us assume one day, 2 day, or even 7 day. So in that area, probably AI can be used in a big way. That is the requirement at this moment as well. Though the experiment and progress is in work is in progress, but nevertheless, it will come from the data what we are accumulating, because ultimately AI is based on data. So more and more data we'll get, more and more refinement we'll get into the systems, and that will help in producing lot more of renewable energy ahead of time, and it will be available to us. It will be available to us as a prediction that at particular time what kind of energy we can produce, and at the same time the storage system where we can put this storage system into the system, into the grid.
That
It
can be
will provide that how much time and what time we should store the energy, and when it is going to be supplied to the grid as per the requirements. So AI has a big role to play in future for the sustainability of the energy requirement.
Right. Mr. Dale, let me also ask you one question. When you look at, various regions or markets or areas that are underserved at this point of time, when you're looking at it from the perspective of financing projects there, how do you focus and prioritize on those areas where there is a lot more potential for growth?
You see, in India, there are 5 or 6 states which are more, you can say, they are very fast and forward in terms of deployment of renewable energy. But there are some states, they are lagging. Particularly, their lag is because of the policy initiatives not taken by that state particularly. And second, the grid availability. But recently, the initiatives taken by the Government of India in terms of PM Kusum and the rooftop solar, as well as the solarization of pump, it has created a lot of awareness in the rural area across India, and there's a lot of traction in terms of implementation of PM Kusum as well as deployment of solar pumps, where as a financier we found a lot of opportunity. And I tell you, in IREDA, last 3 years we have sanctioned around 10,000 crores of loan for PM Kusum, and more than 820 crore for rooftop solar. So we are for that, and we are committed for financing those kind of projects in future as well as the solarization of pump. We have almost funded for solarization of pumps, more than 12,000 pumps. We have already provided funding for that. So with that perspective, we are open to finance those kind of projects in rural area as well and across India, because that is the requirement at this moment, because the decentralization of power is very, very important in terms of solarization and sustainability of the power availability in India.
Yeah. When we're talking, Ashish, of renewable energy, the minister was telling us this morning that we're already at around 300 gigawatts, which makes us the third largest, such a provider of renewable energy in the world. But looking at our future projections, our targets, we would have to beat US and China in terms of achieving, more power generation in renewable energy than them. What makes you confident that we can do that?
Let me tell you, flip it from the side, that what outside world is looking for in India. The first question everybody's asking me, I have people from Indonesia, Vietnam, South Africa, all approaching me. We want to match the price of sub 2.5 rupees in India, because they are not able to get it. And when they are told that solar plus storage is less than 3.5 rupees, they're even more surprised. So first of all, the world is really looking at very competitive solar and solar plus storage bids that India is able to do. Second, as IREDA was just mentioning, the solarization of agriculture. India is the largest, not the third, the largest field of solarization agriculture anywhere in the world. This is something that Africa is very interested in because only 4% of arable land is irrigated in Africa. So when I meet the heads of state in Africa, they say number one problem is food. Number one problem on food is how to get irrigation, and I need solar pumps. What can I learn from India? That leads to the answer that India has developed an ecosystem where we started with a very strong political will, policy regulatory framework, local financing, huge capability of regulators, financiers, procurement, technicians, and now looking at manufacturing. This ecosystem that exists in India, where the country now is unanimous after the Hormuz crisis that nobody takes the sun away from you, but the gas and oil, you'll have to be dependent on others. That will ensure that India will continue to meet its energy needs in affordable and energy secure way, where solar will be the key.
That's very important because, in terms of actually adoption of this technology, Mr. Day, I'd like you to come in on this. What exactly is the government's focus now to push for solar and other renewable energies? Across the country, you've told us how you're trying to fill the gaps where it's not there. But going forward, what are going to be some of the thrust areas? Because when it comes to renewable energy, when it comes to clean energy, there are a lot of other efforts as well that are being pushed for as far as the government is concerned. So can you take us through what the vision is, what the plan is for the government?
You see, when this program was started in India, the focus was the installation of clean energy projects in terms of capacity. But now the time has come, we have to think beyond that. Not just by installation of solar energy or wind energy, any capacity addition will not help us. Unless we are sure that at what time we are supplying power and what time our client will require the power. That is the most important thing, and that is the focus area where the India and Indian government is putting more efforts. And to that, for that, we require a solar power with battery storage system. That is the focus area. And almost all the projects which are now coming up, it is with solar with BESS. So that is the focus area where we are also doing financing. Because plain solar or wind, vanilla type of projects will not be very good or suitable for our grids. So to maintain the grid stability, we require the storage in terms of battery or in terms of PSP. So in short term, we will immediately require the BESS system because it can be immediately integrated with the grid system. But PSP, it requires a lot of time to implement, at least 4 to 5 years to implement the project. So that is a long-term goal. So short-term goal is that BESS system with solar or wind along with PSP, it will be a long-term goal which is set by Government of India. And it will be a game changer in next 3 to 4 years when we see that our energy is going to be produced from renewable energy. Now today we are talking about the capacity addition is 50% of what we are producing, but there will be a generation, 50% generation after 3 to 4 years, it will be from the renewable energy. So that is the focus area for Government of India.
Ashish, I have to ask you a question. At a time when we're all talking about EVs, we've seen solar cars that have been, in the works. So we've seen photos, prototypes for the last 10, 20 years. Is that a reality or is it just science fiction?
Sorry?
Solar vehicles, solar powered vehicles.
Oh,
we've
yes.
seen prototypes of various auto manufacturers last 10, 15, 20 years. But none of that has come in the market. Why is that?
Because today the solar power that is generated, first of all, is not generated in the entire time period. And the model for using the solar power to run an EV is not, but it's happening. There are some prototypes that are happening. I'll tell you some very interesting application that's actually happening on ferries. So in all the eco resorts, if you are restricting the boat ride to less than 30 minutes, now solar powered and EV powered boats are now completely possible.
Okay.
So this is also an innovation more and more coming. I have African countries who have millions of fishermen running on diesel boats. They're saying, is solar small boats really a possibility?